Iran's president suspends IAEA cooperation following U.S. and Israeli airstrikes.
Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has ordered the suspension of Iran's cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, following unprecedented U.S. and Israeli airstrikes on the country's nuclear facilities. The decision, announced on Wednesday, July 2, 2025, came after Iran's parliament passed legislation to halt cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog agency.
Parliamentary legislation and presidential action. Iran's parliament approved the bill to suspend IAEA cooperation on June 25, 2025, with an overwhelming vote of 221 in favor and 1 abstention. The legislation was subsequently approved by Iran's constitutional watchdog, the Guardian Council, on June 26. President Pezeshkian's order officially enacted the law on July 2, directing the suspension through communications to the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, the Iranian Foreign Ministry, and the Supreme National Security Council.
The law stipulates that any future inspection of Iran's nuclear sites by the IAEA requires approval from Tehran's Supreme National Security Council. Under the new legislation, Iran is prohibited from engaging with the IAEA due to what it describes as violations of its sovereignty, recent attacks on its peaceful nuclear facilities, and threats to the country's national interests. Context: the 12-day Iran-Israel war. The suspension follows the intense 12-day Iran-Israel conflict that erupted on June 13, 2025, when Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, deploying over 200 fighter jets and coordinated airstrikes targeting Iran's nuclear sites at Natanz, Fordo, and Isfahan. The conflict escalated dramatically when the United States joined with Operation Midnight Hammer on June 22, deploying 7 B-2 bombers that flew 7,000 miles from Missouri to Iran and dropped 14 GBU-57 bunker-buster bombs on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. The unprecedented U.S. strikes marked the first combat use of the 30,000-pound bunker-buster munitions and represented the largest B-2 operational strike in U.S. history. Iranian casualties from the combined Israeli and U.S. attacks were significant, with Iran's Ministry of Health reporting 610 killed and 4,746 injured as of June 2411. Iran's retaliation and diplomatic fallout. Iran retaliated by launching missile attacks on Israeli cities and firing missiles at the U.S. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar on June 31, 2013. The attack on the Qatari base, which houses the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East, involved what Iran described as a devastating and powerful missile strike, though no U.S. casualties were reported. A ceasefire brokered by President Trump took effect on June 24, ending the 12-day conflict. However, the aftermath has seen Iran take increasingly confrontational positions regarding international nuclear oversight. IAEA Director General Banad, Iran has also banned